Welcome everybody again, and thanks for coming to today's session on resumes and job searching. Whether you're looking for a job or considering a career change, returning to work, or preparing for future opportunities, this session is designed to provide practical tools and simple steps that you can use right away. Job searching can sometimes feel overwhelming, but you are not alone. And the good news is that success often comes from being prepared, not being perfect. Small improvements to your resume, job search strategy, and interview skills can make a big difference over time. Let's start with a quick icebreaker, just to get our minds thinking about today's topic. Take just a moment and consider this question. If you could have any job tomorrow, what would it be? If you want to share your answer in the chat, that's great. You don't have to. Or if you want to pause where you are and discuss this with the other people you're watching with, that's great. Maybe it's a job you've always dreamed of doing, a position you've had your eye on for a while, or simply a role that offers the kind of schedule, stability, or work environment you're looking for. There's no right answer or wrong answer. The goal is simply to start thinking about where you'd like to go and what opportunities interest you. As we move through today's session, keep that answer in the back of your mind. The tools, strategies, and tips we'll discuss are all designed to help you take practical steps toward reaching your goals for your own employment. Before we talk about resumes and applications, let's take a minute and think about what employers are actually looking for. Many people just assume that employers only care about our experience, education, or special certifications. While those things are important, they're frequently not the whole picture. In fact, many employers consistently say they are looking for qualities that have nothing to do with a degree or years of experience. They value things like showing up on time, having a good attitude, being able and willing to communicate well. Are you dependable? Do you have problem-solving skills? And are you willing to learn? Those are what employers are looking for in addition to some of the education and experience items. Think about it this way. If you were hiring someone to help you with an important task, would you rather have someone with a perfect resume who constantly shows up late, or someone who is dependable, eager to learn, and has a good attitude, a positive attitude? Most people will choose the second option. That's because technical skills can often be taught. Reliability and work ethic are much harder to teach. Take a moment and think about your own strengths. Maybe you're organized. Maybe you're patient. Are you good at helping others solve problems? Maybe you're dependable and people know they can count on you. Feel free to type one of your strengths into the chat. As we continue today, I want you to remember something important. Many of the qualities employers value most are qualities that you may already have. The goal is learning how to communicate your strengths clearly and effectively on a resume, application, or during the hiring process. Let's clear up a few common resume myths that often prevent people from applying for jobs. One myth is that your resume has to be perfect before you apply. In reality, resumes are always evolving. They're always changing. Even experienced professionals regularly update and improve their resume. Another common myth is, I don't have enough experience. Well, the truth is that experience can come from many places, including volunteer work, caregiving, school projects, community involvement, and leadership roles. Many people also assume employers spend a long time reviewing resumes. In fact, employers often spend less than a minute during an initial screening, which is why clear, organized resumes are so important. A few common mistakes include outdated contact information, difficult to read formatting, large blocks of text, tiny fonts, cluttered layouts, spelling or grammar errors. These small details can make it harder for employers to learn about your qualifications. Take a moment and think about this question. What is the one thing that has stopped you from updating your resume in the past? Whatever your answer may be, remember that a resume doesn't have to be perfect. Its purpose is simply to communicate your skills, experience, and strengths clearly and effectively. Now that we've cleared up a few of those common resume myths, let's talk about the real purpose of a resume. You may think a resume needs to tell your entire life story, but that is not the case. A resume is simply a tool that introduces you to an employer and encourages them to want to learn more about you. Think of it like a movie trailer. It doesn't show the entire movie. It highlights the most important parts and makes you want to see more. A resume works the same way. It highlights your skills, experience, and strengths to help employers see why you would be a good fit for a position. Because of that, your resume should focus on the information most relevant to your job goals rather than every detail of your work history. It's also important to remember that a resume's job is not to get you hired. Its job is to help you get an interview. The interview is where employers get to know you as a person. Your resume just simply opens that door. So that can be helpful to know. The resume is a critical and important part of the process. It may help you get the job, but its purpose is not to get the job for you. It just wants to open the door. Let's look at what actually belongs on a resume. The good news is that most resumes follow a very simple structure. First, you'll include your contact information. This typically is your name, phone number, email address, sometimes your city and state, typically not your personal address. Next comes a short summary statement. Now, this is usually a few sentences that briefly describe your experience, strengths, and career goals. Then you'll list your actual work experience, followed by any skills and education or training. That's it. Surprising how straightforward it is. Okay, so let's spend a moment talking about your contact information, because it is often one of the first things the employers will notice. So, you want to make sure your phone number is current, that your voicemail is set up so employers can leave a message. You want to check your email and use a professional email address. Your email address needs to be professional. For example, which one of these creates a better first impression? Jane.smith@email.com or partyanimal2020@gmail.com. You don't necessarily need a new email address, but if your current one might give the wrong impression, you should consider creating one specifically for job searching. It's also a good idea to check your email regularly while you're applying for jobs. Most employers use email as their primary form of communication, and opportunities really move quickly. These details may seem small, but together they help create a professional first impression, and they make it easier for employers to contact you. One of the most common things people say during a job search is, "I don't have any skills." But in reality, most people have far more skills than they realize. Sometimes the challenge isn't developing skills, it's just recognizing them. So let's think about where skills come from. Of course, jobs can teach us valuable skills, but so can many other life experiences. If you have cared for children, you've likely developed organization skills, patience, communication, and problem-solving skills. If you've managed a household, you've practiced planning, record keeping, and financial responsibility. If you've volunteered at a local church, community event, or local organization, you have probably gained teamwork experience, leadership experience. Even helping friends, family members, or your neighbors can help build valuable abilities. So let's do a quick activity. Take a moment and think about this question. What do people ask you for? What do people ask you for help with? What are 3 things? Maybe it's technology or organizing events. Is it to help solve a problem or simply being someone others can depend on? Those strengths often point directly to workplace skills. The next time you think, "I don't have any skills," try asking yourself, what responsibilities have I handled? What challenges have I solved? What do people trust me to do? Your answers may reveal valuable strengths you've been overlooking. Employers are interested in what you can do and how you can contribute. One topic that causes a lot of stress during a job search is employment gaps. Many people worry that employers will immediately see a gap and lose interest. The reality is often much less dramatic. Life happens. People take time away from work for many, many reasons. Some stay home to care for children. Others may care for aging parents or other family members. Maybe some return to school or are recovering from health challenges. Have you relocated or have experienced periods of unemployment? These are all reasons that you might have gaps. Employers understand this. These situations are more common than you realize. The key is to focus on what you did during that time rather than simply focusing on the gap itself. For example, someone who cared for a family member may have strengthened such skills as scheduling, communicating, organization, problem solving, and responsibility. Someone who managed a household may have handled the budgeting, planning, coordinating appointments, and multitasking. Even if you're entering the workforce for the very first time, remember, employers hire people employers hire people with little experience every single day. Everyone starts somewhere. Instead of worrying about what you haven't done, focus on what you can offer right now. Well, now that we've identified some skills, let's talk about how you're going to describe your experience on a resume. One common mistake is simply listing job duties. For example, answered phones, stocked shelves, or assisted customers. While those statements are accurate, they don't tell employers much about the value you provided. Employers want to know more than what you just did. Instead, try describing how you contributed. For example, instead of answered phones, you might write, provided professional phone support and directed customer inquiries. Rather than stocked shelves, you might say organized inventory and maintained displays to support daily operations. Do you see the difference? The second example highlights skills, not just tasks. A helpful question is to ask yourself, how did I help the business, customers, coworkers, or organization? Using action words such as organized, coordinated, managed, supported, or communicated can also make your experience stronger. Let's try a quick example. If your duty was cleaned offices, you might write instead, maintained clean and organized workspaces to support a professional environment. The goal isn't to exaggerate your experience, it is to clearly communicate the value of the work you performed. You're conveying value to a potential employer. Well, technology has made job searching easier than ever, and many free tools are available to help along the way. And we'll talk about one of those specifically later in the session. So one example is going to be artificial intelligence, AI. Think ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, and the many others that are available. AI can help you improve resume wording, check your grammar, create cover letters, organize ideas, and even practice interview questions with you. For example, you might ask, help me write a resume bullet point for my customer service experience. Or give me 5 common interview questions for a customer service job. There are also free resume building resources available through websites like Indeed, Google Docs, Microsoft Word templates. Make use of all of these things as you are working on your resume. Do remember, AI is a technology tool. Use it wisely. It is not a replacement for your own experience and your own judgment. You want to always review anything created by AI before you use it. I'll give you an example. Recently, I read about a state politician that was accused of lying on a resume. And what had happened is a staff member had updated the document using AI and included information from another person that had the same name. They just Googled their boss and started adding information. You need to be very careful because it sounded very similar to what they were looking for, and they simply added it and caused so much damage because then that person, the state representative, was then accused of falsely presenting information. And they did. It was because it wasn't reviewed properly. Make sure everything accurately reflects your skills, experience, and personality. When used thoughtfully, technology can really help save time, build confidence, and make the job search process a little bit less overwhelming. Okay, so let's look at a few different resume formats. You can find these templates anywhere. I found these in Word, Microsoft Word. And so you can't really see what the words say, and that's fine. That's not the point. But you can see this is a very simple, straightforward resume. It lists the name at the top. It does put her address. You don't need to put your address on there. And then it gives a brief little summary at the top. That's your experience summary. It doesn't need to be long. Then it talks about her work experience, some specific skills, gives some education background, and may list some activities. Most of these resume templates are really going to be a little bit different. Each one may be a little different. And you can just work with that. You can take things out, you can move things in, but like here is another simple example that has a summary, then the work experience, and then the education that happened, any skills, and then also lists references. You can put references on your resume if you want to, but you don't have to do that. You may want to create a list of references and use AI to help you format that. That's great. Here's another one. So we're getting a little bit more detailed. This template has, a picture in the background here. It's fancy. You can put your picture on it. And then it has the same thing of blue header lines, and then the same type of sections: summary, experience, education. And then this one you can see it's quite a bit different, but it is just a template. You don't have to build this from scratch. There will be templates available. There were more templates than I could really look at. And so this one here, April, has her summary here on the left, her contact information here, and then items of education, work experience, and skill sets on the right-hand side. It looks pretty fancy. You can do whatever you want to, but you can see this plain one again, and it might be fun to have something that has a little bit more interest level in it. But you do want it to stay easy to read, not cluttered. It has to be really clean looking. So let me ask, are you overwhelmed? It seems like a lot. And it is. The resume has a lot of different components. And so here's my encouragement. Take it one section at a time. You don't have to do all of this at once. Do one line today, and then come back tomorrow and do another one. Start with your name and your contact information because it's the easiest thing. And just write it on a sheet of paper. Just start by writing this on a sheet of paper or typing it into a Google Doc or Word document, whatever you have. You could even put it in the notes on your phone. You could start there. Then list your education and the years you attended wherever. You don't go all the way back to elementary school. If you have an upper level degree, like a college degree, start with your most recent education first. And so you would put your college degree, then possibly your high school degree, but not necessarily. You're only going to probably list your high school degree if that's the top of your education. And so, and maybe it is you have your GED. Well, you want to list that and when you received it. Then, maybe on a different day, you're going to write down past jobs and their dates. Just a close guess to start with, because it can be cumbersome to find the exact dates. This is trouble for everybody. So you're going to start with your most recent. And so that's going to be the easiest to remember. And then go down the list. You're not going to necessarily put all of your job experience down, because you may not have room. Maybe you've held a lot of part-time jobs. Maybe you were working your way through school, or you had several part-time jobs when you were a teenager. You're not going to write all of that down. You're going to really write the most recent. And even if that includes stay-at-home mom, well, maybe you're going to put that down on your past jobs, because it was a job. It just was not a paying job. And then you're going to also include those skills. What did you do at that job? So this takes time. Maybe you want to do one job at a time, because you're going to list the job. And then you're going to add, well, what tasks were you responsible for? What did you do at that job, like we talked about previously? So then write that down. Maybe you can leave it if it's very overwhelming, or if you're on a roll, start brainstorming your skills, your tools, the things that you're good at. This is also something that you could type into AI and say, here are the things I like to do. Here are the activities I'm involved in now, or I was involved in the past. And let AI help you create your skill sets. Maybe your skills are also things like that are technical, typing, or what's another skill set? Graphic design. So if you have certain skill sets, it may also be software that you're qualified in. There's a number of things. But then you're going to want to spend some time and write your short summary. That's your introduction on your resume. The reason I save this for last is because it's easiest to do this once the rest of this is written down. So the short summary is also something that I would use AI for. Put in all of the information that you've already accumulated here and ask an AI tool to help you write a short summary to go on your resume. Then don't just leave it at that. Look at what was written and decide, well, I like this, or I want to change this. And you can ask it to rewrite it and say, oh, I don't like the way this sounds or this tone. Please rewrite it and make me sound more interesting. Don't lie. Don't have AI lie. You just want to give a good picture so that someone is interested enough in your resume to invite you to an interview. Pick a template. Google any type of Google I need resume templates, and then see who offers free templates. Tons of places do. Then start dropping your pieces into that template. Then load that again and ask AI to help you clean it up or help you look for errors. The AI tool you still have to do the work. AI doesn't know you, but AI will help you polish and make your resume more professional. Okay, before we move on to the next section, let me know in the chat if you have any specific questions about resume building. I don't want to rush you. It's not it can be difficult, but it's a simple form. And so it really takes time. But if you have questions, throw them in the chat right now, or you can email them to academy@bettertexans.com and we'll be happy to try to answer your questions. But once your resume is ready, the next step is going to be finding opportunities. Well, many people think that the best approach is to apply for as many jobs as possible. While effort does matter, being strategic tends to be more effective than applying everywhere. Think of job searching like fishing. Success success isn't always about casting the widest net. It's about finding the right spot. Start by looking for positions that match your skills, interests, and experience. If you don't have any experience, don't worry. If you're not sure about your skills, don't worry. It is easier to get a job when you have a job. So maybe what your first job is not your dream job, but it is the next step to getting a job. I'm sorry, getting another job. So, good places to start searching include company websites, online job boards, workforce development centers. We're going to talk more about that. Community organizations, local businesses, and referrals from people you know. When you find a job that interests you, take some time and read the job description. Read it carefully and look for qualifications that match your background. Again, if you don't have any experience, maybe you get a starter job, and then you get some experience and you get another job, a better job, and you keep moving up. It's also important to remember that you don't need to meet every requirement listed. Employers often describe their ideal candidate, but many hire applicants who meet most, not all of the qualifications. So before we move on, think about this question. Have you ever decided not to apply for a job because you didn't meet every requirement? If so, you may have been more qualified than you realized. The goal is to focus your energy on opportunities that align with your strengths, rather than spending hours applying for positions that aren't a good fit for you. We want that employer to have every opportunity to hire you. As online job searching has become more common, so have employment scams. That's why it's important to recognize a few of the warning signs. One major flag is any employer asking you to pay money to get a job. And be careful about sharing any of your financial information. Legitimate employers do not require gift cards, upfront fees, or money transfers as a part of the hiring process. Another warning sign is pressure to act immediately. Scammers often create urgency to prevent people from asking questions or doing more research. Be cautious of offers that promise unusually high pay for very little work. If something sounds too good to be true, you should take a closer look. Before sharing personal information, take the time to research the company. Visit its website, verify the contact information, and look for reviews. You want to be really careful with this because anyone can create a website that looks very real. You want to do a lot of research before, if you get a red flag on something is concerning to you. Think about this example. If you received a message saying, "Congratulations, you've been hired. Send us your bank account information immediately." Would that raise concerns? Trust your instincts on this. A legitimate employer will be willing to answer questions and provide clear information about the company and the position. Finding a job posting is exciting, but the application itself often determines whether you move forward in the hiring process. That is why attention to detail matters. This is kind of like in the resume. You want all the details to be correct and accurate. So before applying, Gather important information like your contact information, your work history, education, your references, and any certifications or training. Things that you gathered to put your resume together, or just grab your resume. Have everything handy and ready so that you can make the process faster and less stressful. A common mistake is rushing through the application. So take a few extra minutes to review the phone numbers, email addresses, dates, and spelling. Make sure your answers are complete and easy to understand. It's also important to follow directions carefully. If an employer asks for a resume or additional information, be sure to include it whenever possible. Employers will sometimes view application instructions as an early test of attention to detail. So, before clicking submit, pause, make a final review. A few extra minutes can help you avoid mistakes and present yourself in the best possible way. When people hear the word networking, they often imagine introducing themselves to strangers or attending large events. In reality, networking can be much simpler. At its core, networking really just means letting people know you're looking for opportunities. Many jobs are found through friends, family, neighbors, former coworkers, church members, volunteer groups, or community connections. You don't need a sales pitch or a long introduction. Sometimes networking is simply saying, I am currently looking for work. If you hear of any opportunities, I'd appreciate your letting me know. Let's do a quick reflection. Think about your own circle of connections. This might be family, friends, former coworkers, maybe it's a teacher or neighbor. Is it a community group? How many people could potentially hear about a job opening before you do? We frequently have more connections than we really realize. The goal isn't to simply ask everyone, the goal is not to ask everyone for a job. It is simply letting people know that you're looking. Sometimes opportunities appear in the most unexpected places. I will tell you, a few years ago, in a Sunday school class at church, a woman in the class had been asking for prayer about finding a job. She had lost her job and she needed a new job. And after a few weeks, she approached a man in the class and asked him, "Don't you work for Dell Computers?" When he said yes, she then boldly asked, "Do you think you could help me get a job there?" It may have never occurred to him to help in that way, but he did it. In fact, he got her an interview, and she got the job. Now, that is different than just letting people know you're looking for a job. She had done that. She had let the Sunday school class know she was looking for a job because we were praying for that. But then she went an extra step and said, "Can you help me get a job?" And so it doesn't mean telling people you're looking for a job doesn't mean you should not go the next step and ask, "Can you help me?" But it doesn't mean necessarily that you have to. I'm just throwing out opportunities. For many people, interviews are the most stressful part of the job search process. That may be true for you, and if it is, you know that you are not alone. Many people feel nervous before interviews, even experienced professionals. Just want to plug, we have a class that covers the interview process in detail, gives you best practices, things to work on, and things to put in place. So know that that is available and watch your calendar to see when we offer Interviewing 101 again. There are so many really great resources online. But one that I would like to point out to you now is Workforce Solutions. Workforce Solutions offices are supported by the Texas Workforce Commission. If you are in another state, know that each state will have a department that offers support for the workers. Know that we are happy to help you locate that office if you cannot find it. So you can either put your name in the chat if you know you'll need help, or you can email us at academy@bettertexans.com. But the Workforce Solutions offices offer job search assistance, education, and literacy. And so we're going to talk about most of those things just for a few minutes because they are such a wide resource. Okay, what does Workforce Solutions do? They are a statewide network to offer free job help centers. And these are run by the Texas Workforce Commission, like I just said. They offer job search help. You can use their computers, their internet, their printers at no cost. So if you need to print your resume, you can print it at no cost there. They have hands-on help on writing your resume and filling out applications. So you actually could have real support in getting that done. They'll also help polish your resume. They can help you with job matching, postings and referrals to employers who are currently hiring. They usually have a list. They can give you career counseling, one-on-one guidance to help you plan your next steps. It's a huge deal and it's free. Job training, skills, classes, and programs, these are free to you. You can get typing classes probably. Typing may not be at the top of the list, but there are different skills. I apologize that I can't name them off the top of my head. But they also offer hiring events, job fairs, so that you can go and meet employers. Employers love this and applicants love this. Amazingly enough, they will help you in applying for and managing your unemployment benefits. Big deal, because if you're looking for a job, that means you don't have a job, and it would be great to have those benefits. Even childcare assistance, they will help you pay for your childcare if you qualify. It's not for everybody, but it is definitely something you want to look into for these services. Okay, who do they help? Everyone is welcome. The services are free and they're open to all Texans. So like I said, if you're in a different state and you're watching, we will help you find the equivalent of the Texas Workforce Solution. So they help anybody looking for work, all job seekers at zero cost. They have a special program for veterans and their spouses that gives some priority on certain things to them. Also, they have a young adult program. So they help you start your work career. They have an experienced workers program for workers who are 55 and older, built specifically for those people. They have programs for unemployed people, people with disabilities, parents needing childcare, we talked about that, and employers who are hiring. So they also serve employers by offering recruiting services and posting jobs for free. So how would you find an office? Now you can call the helpline. This is the number. You can write that down or put it in your phone, 800-628-5115. Or you can just Google Texas Workforce Solutions near me. They have tons of locations across Texas. You could go to the government website, which is the twc.texas.gov, and then find locations. And you could put in your zip code, and they will tell you your closest office. And you can just walk in during business hours. You don't even need an appointment. Take an ID, because you're going to need that. They're going to want to know, they want to verify who you are. But I highly recommend all of their services to help you get started and if you're struggling for that direct encouragement. Okay, let's talk about something many job seekers overlook, and that is the follow-up. So after submitting an application or completing an interview, many people just wait and just hope for the best. And while patience is important, a professional follow-up can sometimes help you stand out a little bit. Following up just shows interest, initiative, and professionalism. For example, if you've submitted an application but you haven't heard anything after about a week, you may choose to send a brief email or make a polite phone call. Something like, "Hello, I recently applied for the customer service representative position and wanted to follow up regarding the status of my application. Thank you for your time and consideration." That's all you need. The same idea applies after interviews. Sending a short note saying thank you can leave a positive impression and reinforce your interest in the position. The follow-up doesn't guarantee you're going to get the job, but it demonstrates professionalism, courtesy, and reminds employers that you are genuinely interested. Important follow-up note. Follow up once or twice. That's appropriate. Contacting an employer repeatedly within a short period of time can have the opposite effect. Think of the follow-up as a gentle reminder. It is not a demand for an answer. Sometimes employers need time to review applications, conduct their interviews, and make their decisions. A thoughtful follow-up can help keep your name fresh on their minds while showing respect for their process. So again, I'm going to say once or twice if needed, but not repetitively. So let's be honest. Job searching can be emotionally exhausting. You might spend hours updating your resume, filling out applications, researching companies, and preparing for interviews. Sometimes you hear nothing back. Sometimes you receive a rejection, or a position is filled before you have the chance to interview. Experiences like these can be discouraging, but they are normal. They're a normal part of the process. This is why it's really important to remember that rejection does not automatically mean you are qualified. It does not define you. There are lots of reasons hiring decisions are made, and often those reasons have nothing to do with your value or your potential. A successful job search is not about getting every opportunity. It is about staying consistent long enough to find the right opportunity. I'm going to repeat that. A successful job search isn't about getting every opportunity. It's about staying consistent long enough to find the right opportunity. One helpful strategy is to focus on goals you can control. Things like updating your resume, applying for jobs every week, practicing interview questions, reaching out to a professional contact, or spending time searching for opportunities. These are actions you can take regardless of how employers respond. It's also important for you to celebrate progress. Maybe you complete your resume, applied for your first job in months, and attended a workshop like this one. Those are all wins, and they are worth recognizing. Celebrate when you do a good next step. As we wrap up, think about a challenge you've overcome in the past. What helped you keep moving forward when things got difficult? Some of the same qualities, like persistence, patience, adaptability, and resilience, can help you during your job search. One rejection does not define your future. Keep learning, keep showing up, keep moving forward. Progress happens one single step at a time. We've covered a lot of information today. We've talked about what employers are looking for, how resumes work, identifying your skills, addressing employment gaps, writing stronger resume descriptions, using technology tools, finding job opportunities, avoiding scams, completing applications, networking, interviewing, following up, staying motivated through the job search process. A lot of different tips today. But let's focus on your next step. One of the biggest mistakes people make after attending a workshop is trying to do everything at once. Instead, choose one action, just one. Small actions completed consistently lead to bigger results than ambitious plans that never get started. Take a minute and think about what would be most helpful for you this week. Maybe it's starting to create your resume, or maybe it's just starting to update your resume. Is it creating a professional email address? Making one application for a job? Asking someone to review your resume? Maybe you'll go down to the Workforce Solutions office and talk to the people there. Practicing some interview questions, or following up on a previous application. Maybe you're going to use free technology tool, or spend some time searching for opportunities. If you feel like putting in the chat what you're going to start with, we'd love to hear that. Only if you're comfortable, there's no pressure there. But do think about this. What's one step that you can take? Before we wrap up, I want to ask you one final question. What would success look like for you 6 months from now? Is it starting a new job, or earning a promotion? Feeling more confident during interviews? Or simply having more opportunities than you have today? Naming your version of success gives you something to aim for, and a reason to keep going when the work gets hard. There's not a wrong answer here or a right answer. When you can picture what success looks like for you, every step you take has a direction. And on the tough days, that picture is what reminds you why it's worth it. Whatever success looks like, remember that it starts with taking the next step. Thanks for spending part of your day with us. I do hope today's session provided practical tools, useful ideas, and encouragement for your job search journey. As you move forward, remember, progress does not happen all at once. It happens one application, one conversation, and one opportunity at a time. Have a great rest of your day.